All right, Yang Gang, what is going on? It is us, the McCoy crew, me, Jeannie. We here live in effect, and we got a very interesting topic going on talking about tonight, and especially in regards of what's going on around the nation as a whole. And so if you want to kind of dive into the conversation with us, it's going to be about diversity in politics, but from like the experience and the view from Black Americans, the Black community, and kind of like bounce off ideas and let everybody know, like, hey, we don't all think the same. That yes, there's some things we agree on. Yes, there's some things we disagree on. But at the end of the day, when everything is all said and done for, that we're going to come out, we're going to vote, and we're going to let our voices be heard. Toby, what's up?
Toby. Hey, let me tell y'all something real quick. So I was just on the, I know this is off topic, but I was just on the fireside chat with Andrew Yang, Donna Imam, and Blair Walsingham. And Andrew Yang is dropping a new book soon.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, look at
I was just on that stream. He said he's in the middle, the beginning stages of writing a new book. I am so excited. After 2020, man, that book's gonna be fire. The War on Us.
Right.
The war.
Wow.
Yeah.
But today, we're going to be talking about how our surroundings influence our politics. Depending on where you grow up, who you are, the social economic class you grow up in, all of that really has a giant effect on your politics, how you view things, how you view certain situations. And also there are certain events that will, change that as well. Let's start with you, Ronald.
Well, let's see, because I know, hey, Metajol, we got Jay Gibbs, we in there. We got Jeremiah, he's in there. I know for me, a lot of it is pretty much due to me living in Michigan, where, as everybody has known, Michigan is a swing state. It's one of those key battle states that both Democrats and Republicans try to fight for. And I know the part of Michigan that I grew up in, I'll normally tell people I grew up in Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, more so in Grand Rapids, with me being on the southeast side of Grand Rapids, which is predominantly Black, predominantly Hispanic. You got your sprinkle of Caucasians, Asians, so forth and so forth. But a lot of times in Michigan, we tend to vote not necessarily for Republican or Democrat, but more so based upon who we think could actually help Michigan flourish, especially when people think back to 2008, where, of course, we had Barack Obama. Everybody flooded to the gates and voted when Barack Obama came in. But at the same time, it wasn't just history in the making. It was just one of those things like, hey, I'm 18, I'm legal, I can vote. All these other guys that are showing up, like, they're not resonating with me. And even though till this day, I can only think about maybe one or two things that stood out for me from Barack, and that was one, of course, not a Medicare for all, but the Affordable Care Act. But also at the same time, the other thing that stood out was when he went after Wall Street and demanded, like, hey, we bailed y'all out. Y'all got X amount of time to repay that money, because that money does not belong to you. It does not belong to the government. It belongs to the people. And we could have used that money to bail out the people, but because y'all was doing yada, 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 this is what we do. And I remember watching that, that press conference. I remember watching the whole thing. I'm like, man, like, this guy really is doing something that could possibly change politics as a whole, And so from there, it kind of just helped change my perspective and just help me kind of grow and monitor what's going on, not only in my state, but in the states around me as well. I'm done.
I vividly remember in 2004, Definitely. I grew up in a very military area of Virginia known as Hampton Roads. There's just military base after military base after military base. At one of my high school assemblies, someone asked, "Hey, whose parents are in the military?" And quite literally every single one hand went up into the air. So that would tell you about the area we lived in. And so when I remember 2004, as I said before, people were really excited to vote for George Bush because of, post 9/11 hype, all of that. And even though looking back, I'm sure a lot of them would change their mind. A lot of our civilization, like almost our entire cities, our entire economy is pretty much propped up on top of the military industrial complex, essentially. Like if the military were to get up and leave tomorrow, we would be like what we see in like West Virginia or Detroit or Kentucky in certain, no offense, but in certain places. But this is, I mean, it's definitely like impacted politics because you see that like even though the senators from Virginia are Democrats, they voted against the decrease in the military budget because like so much of their like infrastructure would crumble. But I feel like we just need to like we could just like revitalize the system and things would be better. But how did that have an effect on me? Well, growing up, I loved the idea of a bolstered military. I thought it was like great immense strength. I was buying into the hype like all the way up until I'd say maybe 2020, like when I started actually seeing the numbers. I saw I'm at a job and they said the George Bush second term was the ultimate Jedi mind trick. Until I actually saw the numbers and saw like how much of our budget like went to this thing. It was incredible. It was like insane. And so that really changed my mind. And Tulsi brought me a long way on that as well. Shout out to Tulsi. And I think that's what really affected my current state of politics.
Anybody else? How has politics kind of helped you, shaped you to become who you are today?
I thought the question was like where you grew up and how it affected you.
That part too.
Whichever.
Oh,
yeah, whatever. Shoot, El.
Well, I'm from South Florida, and I mean, I don't know, because I'm from like a very, very liberal part of Florida, but like it's, just like the whole state of Florida, like it's, it's the swingiest swing state. And our governor election in 2018, DeSantis won by like, I think it was like 34,000 votes, like something super slim. So like we are literally like, cut down the middle when it comes to like, our whole state. Like I really believe that North Florida and South Florida should just be two different states, because like if you drive up to North Florida, like Tallahassee, people call that the South, but they call South Florida the North because like a lot of like New Yorkers and stuff kind of come down here to like retire or move or, like kind of so that, start to change things. I don't know. Like I always just kind of grew up Democrat. Like I was too young to vote for Obama back in 2008, but like it seemed like everybody was kind of for him, like around me, like in my schools and everything.
There's this thing I hear: the more north you go in Florida, the south you get.
Exactly. That's 100% true. Like I went to college in North Florida, Florida State, and it was weird seeing the amount of churches, because like where I'm from, there's like churches and temples and, like, because there's like a massive Jewish community, like where I'm at. Like pretty much like when you're voting down here, it's like you're either voting for somebody Jewish or somebody Black. Like that's kind of it. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Like I've just been, just like in this very like Democratic blue area my whole life. But there are just different parts of Florida where it's just like it gets very, very red, very, very traditional South,
Yeah.
But it's just not here.
Yeah. And I grew up in Maryland, which is pretty blue. But I didn't really realize that because I wasn't really political growing up. My family, we never really talked about politics and any of that. We grew up in a part of Maryland though that was actually much more Republican. I actually remember being in this kind of church program. Literally, they said that we needed to pray for George Bush to win a second term, or else the country would go down a very dark road. And I mean, what was I in fourth grade? This was 2004. Or I may have been fourth or third grade. I don't even remember. And I was like, oh yeah, of course we must. I mean, I don't know. I don't know any better. I'm a kid. And with that, again, that wasn't even a family thing. That was just something that I had heard. It wasn't until I got to high school maybe where I actually started to hear other things. I mean, people were very excited about Obama, but even then we didn't talk much about politics. I think I just kind of knew that I started to see that Bush was not popular. He was actually kind of hated and called all types of names. So I was like, oh, wow, this is different. But I had moved to a different part of Maryland, which was more, I guess you could say liberal, but I didn't have the chance to vote until 2016, technically 2014, but I didn't know that those were important years to vote. Like actually we got a Republican governor for the first time in decades in 2014 because there was just not really much enthusiasm. I mean, 2014 was a pretty slow year for Democrats from what I've heard. Like I was not paying attention then, but Maryland was not, I guess, as active, and we got a Republican governor. And I mean, he's actually pretty popular in terms of, one what Larry Hogan, if people have heard. I mean, he's challenged Trump on things. He's said reasonable things. He general seems to have common sense, and it's just that there's certain things that progressives haven't been happy for. So I started to kind of see these things because all of a sudden people were like, oh my gosh, we have a Republican governor. This is like my junior year of college, and I was like, oh wow, politics. I haven't really heard people talking about that. And then when 2015-16 came, people were talking, obviously, a lot about Trump versus Clinton. Our former governor, Martin O'Malley, ran in that primary. Didn't last very long. So it was literally just like him, Bernie Sanders, and Hillary Clinton, of course. So I feel like there was a little bit of Maryland history and like influence, but it kind of died out. And people were worried, like, oh my gosh, if we don't vote, Trump could get elected here, just like we got a Republican governor, even though national politics and governor politics are not quite the same. But I feel like I started to be more conscious of like the more progressive side of things, like progressive Maryland, especially the Baltimore area, people from DC, these like much more liberal, young, progressive type areas, versus where I grew up in, which was much more the rural, like if anyone's familiar with Salisbury, Maryland, Ocean City, I grew up in that area. And yeah, I don't know. Like I kind of hop in and out of the state at this point. Since 2016, I've left. I've been in upstate New York. Now I'm in Massachusetts. But I feel like I've always been more in tune with sort of young Black networks. So through those type of networks, I've definitely had encounters with people who did push more on the progressive side of things. Very pro-Black, all that stuff. But it's hard to say for my actual environment because I wasn't necessarily shaped to be conservative or Republican. My family, we never really talked about all that kind of stuff. I mean, sometimes things come up, with religion. Like very briefly, you might hear some of those topics come up, whether it's like abortion or like LGBT things, but it was never really preached about, right? And if anything, I would say that most of the people who I attended church with are much more on the progressive side, including some of the pastors, or if not progressive, definitely not fans of Trump, and definitely not like super, evangelical type Christians. No, like I grew up in different churches, but I would say the most recent was more like African church, and that's kind of a different story. How African political views can be, but I would say most of them are more on the pro-Black, left liberal side, at least in general from what I've been around. We still don't talk much about politics, but we did back in 4th of July because I went back home to Maryland, and it was actually crazy. Me and my siblings, who are all older than me, we were all talking about like defunding the police, and I wouldn't say it was intense, but it was definitely a very passionate conversation, unlike anything growing up that I've really heard. My siblings were just talking about it and how like all of this, how everything was just so bad. And my parents were kind of like, I mean, they were kind of hesitant a little bit about like the goals of defunding the police and like, oh, where's the money going to? Like, why this? They completely were on board with the fact that police brutality has gone to a head that there's a lot of injustices, a lot of racism, but it was just so different kind of seeing this conversation come to light with, me and my adult siblings. And it's kind of like, where did those views come from? It wasn't really our upbringing. Was it just our environments? I mean, maybe it was because me and my siblings were always kind of like one of the few Black people in many white, like majority white environments. And so we end up sort of having to internalize our Black identity in different ways. And we kind of sometimes will go, now I wouldn't say radical, like a lot of the stuff is not radical to like have police accountability and things, but we start to adopt some of these positions, I think, growing up in spaces that were mostly white and having to sort of, for ourselves, define what our Blackness means. And I don't know, that's kind of like a general idea of kind of how my upbringing and environment sort of shaped a lot of our views. And fun fact, I actually found out during that trip that my siblings were all like pro Bernie, which I didn't realize before. They were like, Maryland's primary got pushed to like June. It would have been April, which is still really late anyway, kind of useless. But they all said that they wrote in or were planning to write in Bernie. I was like, oh wow, look at that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
Erica?
What's the question?
Oh man, we have like but the main one is pretty much how do you feel your upbringing affected your political views?
Oh, my parents are not very political, and they always try to vote. I don't want to speak for them, but basically just do the right thing and put people first. And it's about what's better for the majority and not the small percentage. I guess more of having a selfless point of view. But ironically, Las Vegas is very interesting in terms of, hey Megan, in terms of like you have the right and the left is very divided. Nevada itself is just an interesting battleground state. But basically, to answer the question, my upbringing was about doing what's better for most people, and that's why I typically vote Democratic. But now I vote for policies that are going to move us forward and that are innovative and not outdated. Because I feel like we need change, because just the policies that that we've had for so long, they're just not working for working class people anymore. And so now I'm more of like, what policies are going to help us now and has the ability to last over time in a meaningful way.
I feel that. Like, if you have this like older gentleman who's pushing all these old outdated policies and ideas, and then you have this like young charismatic person like running like in your district, I would definitely vote for this younger charismatic person. I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
We had a question in the chat that I asked or for anyone. Do you feel like you've moved more to the left within the last 4 years, or less to the left, or have your ideas gotten more or less progressive? Anyone?
Go ahead, Elle. You could start.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were talking. I didn't want to talk over you.
I appreciate it. I would say I've gotten a lot more progressive over the last 4 years. Like, I don't know like what it was exactly about like the 2016 election that, I started to like, I feel like everybody on the internet started just really paying attention that year to politics. And so, I was like a Bernie supporter in the primaries, and just like, hearing him talk about, like Medicare for all, or like, healthcare for all or whatever. And just like more so like just like things that like all these other countries have. And I guess it kind of just made me think like, yeah, why don't we have these things? I didn't really like, I can't really remember more about like Bernie's policies, but I just felt like Reddit and like just like the internet more so was just very like, like very passionately him, and like they were just, like hating Hillary so hard. And so like I was like definitely like I guess like that definitely like skewed my perception of Hillary, even though I ended up, of course, voting for her. in 2016 anyway. But like, oh, what's up?
No, I didn't mean to get you off.
No, go. It's fine.
No, I was going to say, I think people just want to be inspired. I think people just want a vision that they can get excited about. And I think that's why a lot of us, or all of us, gravitated towards Andrew Yang. You know, he presented this really cool vision that was so innovative and practical and made sense. And he's down to earth and relatable, right? So if that's moving more progressive, count me in. I would say, though, I am fiscally conservative. Like, I don't want to increase the deficit. You know, I know that will have a profound impact on the next generation, but I'm also for investing money that's going to help the community or our country as a whole. And so we have to spend the coin, like education and things like that. But I do feel like, for me personally, I'm between a very far left progressive and a moderate. Like, I'm like in the middle there. Like, I'm right in the middle because I'm fiscally conservative. Like, I'm not gonna advocate for something that costs trillions and trillions of dollars that we can't fund in the federal budget, that's not going to elevate or stimulate the economy. Like, I'm not into wasting money because that would be irresponsible.
I would say I'm like the exact same way, Erica. I guess that's like why we all kind of gravitated to Yang anyway, because like, you know, he had a way to like, you know, give everybody money, but like make it in a way that was practical and also like help decrease the budget and help, you know, like save money at the end of the day. Because you're right, it's like you can't just like invest a ton of money into something and then like you can't really get the money back.
And if we're thinking of social safety nets, universal basic income is more advantageous than, you know, our current welfare systems. I feel like giving people direct cash, because Jeannie will know this because he knows this about me. I hate when the light comes on my car. And I always panic, like every time, like, oh my God, how much is this going to cost right now? Yeah. And I feel like after that direct cash relief is just like, wait, I don't have to worry about the light because I have universal basic income and it's not going to drain my savings. It's not going to put me in a bad financial predicament, whatnot. Right. And I honestly think, and it's only because I knock on a lot of doors, I still haven't met anyone who loves living paycheck to paycheck. Raise your hand on this channel if you love living paycheck, or if, and I don't know if you do or not, but like if you know anyone that loves living paycheck to paycheck. I'll wait. No one loves that.
No, I don't know anybody, but I know people who act like they do.
That's true. I feel that.
People don't like it. And we have this unique opportunity to prevent that and elevate people and stimulate our economy.
Agreed. And I'll probably take a swing at it too. And I kind of feel that I'm progressive just due to the fact that I'm more so thinking about not just right now, but for those next generations that's coming behind. Because if anything, mimicking what Andrew says, that I want to leave this country in a way where our kids and our kids' kids can be proud to say, I'm an American, that I'm proud that my parents and my parents' peers, they provided some kind of platform for us to stand on and to catapult from there to go to something bigger and better than what they desire. I mean, I tell my kids all the time, like, look, I want you guys to go to school and get an education so you can be better than me. So you don't have to go through the same struggles that me and your mom went through. No, you go do what you got to do, get involved politically. Please get involved politically and do what you got to do to make life better for your kids and use the experience that you've gone through to make sure that happens. You know, are you going to slip and fall? Sure, who doesn't? But at the end of the day, as long as you're still making steps towards progress and doing something that's going to help your whole community to be better, then go for it. You have my support fully.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry if I keep looking off to the side. I'm actually chatting with Donna Imam right now. I don't know if any of you guys saw the fireside chat. I think
love that.
those are like freaking amazing. I'm sorry, we're really off topic.
No, that's
That's
cool.
That's
That's
what I
pretty
thought.
cool. Just chatting.
But
Yeah, lady from
before Erica got on, that Yang's writing a new book, and I am so freaking excited for that. Oh my gosh! But to get back to the actual point of the video, the actual like question. Sorry,
Genie.
I know I'm all over the place. I apologize. So, do I feel like I've moved more? To be honest, I feel like I've moved probably slightly to the right in the last 4 years. Honestly, like, I supported Bernie in 2016. He was a person that was like lighting the fire for politics for a lot of my generation.
Mhm.
He got on. He was like, the billionaires are taking everything. Wealth tax. Let's say Medicare for all. Genie flooding. But I feel like, do you guys think that Bernie is to the left of Yang or to the right of Yang?
Left.
Oh well, I mean, definitely left.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that I probably moved a little bit to the right because, like after actually looking into these policies, Yang actually made me think harder. Like he made me,
like on your map.
he made me think harder about things. Like when I actually looked at the, Medicare for all plan, started seeing like some things I might not like in it. And I gotta say, I probably moved not like I didn't like become like Republican, but I moved slightly to the right.
Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
So you
I
all think that Bernie is to the left of Yang?
Yes.
I mean, that's what most people would say. Like he's the most left candidate. I mean, everything with, I guess whether it's the wealth tax. I mean, you have the affordable housing. Oh snap! Man.
Hey, good people. How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome.
Genie disappeared like a genie.
Thank y'all for having me on here.
Yes. Yes. Al.
Wow, Genie. That's hurtful, sir.
He said, "Oh, only 5 at a time. It's too much." So he had to dip. He had to dip.
I can always take them off.
Oh, there we
Hey.
go.
Wow.
Yeah,
I had to put on a little bit better for this
Oh,
I thought we could get the matching shorts.
That's pretty cool.
Green looks like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Hey, Jermaine,
Everyone
what are
look
the shorts
a certain
dropping?
direction. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Look a direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
One
man.
time for South Carolina District 80. You know,
One time for new 80 for the new 80.
Yeah.
We're all coming to your inauguration. It's already been decided. So as soon as you know, Yang Gang, make sure you save the date and let's show up for Jermaine and go to his inauguration, the first Yang Gang member to get elected into office. It's so exciting, and we have to show up for him. So Jermaine it's like in January, right?
I believe so. This COVID-19 stuff is being crazy. It's messing things up. So we really don't have it just yet. But as soon as I know, trust and believe that you all will know. If it happens sometime sooner, I'll make sure that everybody gets the date. And if people can't come, we'll have a party. All right, and next year we'll have a party, and we'll invite everybody. We'll invite all y'all. We'll invite Yang. We'll invite Anita Baker and Tim Ryan, and we're gonna have everybody. We're gonna have a big showdown. We'll get some stuff going, and so we can really celebrate.
Can Aunt Martha cater it?
Yes.
So we're talking about the Democratic Party. And what's your thoughts on the state of the Democratic Party right now?
I think personally that we are headed in a good direction. I don't think we were headed in a good direction until a lot of the stuff that happened with George Floyd and all these things that have happened in recent months. I think we are headed in the right direction. We have really forced people's hands. I don't think Joe Biden would have picked a black woman to run for him had we not been in this type of state right now, the way that America is looking right now. I don't think that would have happened. I don't think that all these presidential candidates would have had black people leading their campaigns. had it not been, for the things that were going on in the Democratic Party. I think that they're really trying to say, you know what, let me at least pretend like I hear and understand what you're saying. Back in the day, they just completely just took it for granted. It was like, we know we're gonna get black people to vote for us. Yeah. But now at least they're actually pretending like they care. They're actually, saying something. They're actually giving us positions of power. So I think that we are. I think we're on the right path. I'm going to be the first black person to ever hold my seat. So I think that we are headed in the right direction, man. And as long as I'm up here with a seat at the table, y'all got a seat at the table, and we gonna make it work.
There's more black women running for office in 2020 this November. There was an article about it. I tweeted it out. I actually retweeted Kamala Harris. And to me, that's a statement, that, our voices should be heard. That our perspective should be valued. And so I really like that he chose a black woman, but let's be clear here. It's not solely because she's black though, and it shouldn't, like Susan Rice would have been an amazing candidate as well. Black women are smart, they're intelligent, we're educated, we're passionate, we have strong voices, we know how to, innovate and inspire in ways that people just don't really credit us for. And I think it's amazing that black women are running for office.
The black women right now are winning. Like, y'all are winning. When I tell you y'all are winning, I give you a couple snaps. Because y'all are winning right now. I'll tell you. I mean, it was black women is the reason why Doug Jones in office. I mean, black women have been running things, man. And in South Carolina, it was so many black women leading presidential campaigns as state directors. I mean, it was an amazing thing. I give shout outs to them all the time for what they have been doing, over the past year, man. I mean, it has been like a flood and like somebody just turned the faucet on it, and all this black girl magic has been coming out. And I'm just like, man, this is just an amazing thing to even be a part of. So, I've had some women that asked me to moderate like black women asked me to moderate like a discussion, and I was like, listen, I will co-moderate. I will not moderate this discussion because y'all need me leading this conversation. Like, y'all are more than capable of leading this conversation. I will assist and lend my ear, lend my hand, and take my direction from you, but y'all don't need me to lead these charges. You know what I'm saying? You're more than capable of this. So, she was like, oh my God, I can't, I'm like, nah, this is y'all's rightful place. You're more than willing. I mean, you're more than capable, and you're more than willing to be able to knock these things out.
Toby, what do you think? What are your thoughts on black women running for office?
Yeah, no, it's great, because actually that's a really good point that you said, Jermaine, about Alabama. And there's many instances where it's just like black women have really been the driving force, kind of like almost like this moral backbone of the country in general, the black community, but especially black women when it came to the civil rights movement. I mean, you had Shirley Chisholm and so much history. And I think it is important. I remember usually I'll see the meme that says, I guess I'll do it myself, like dash a black woman. It's like, there's a lot of, stress and expectations and all these other things put on black women. So it is like hugely appreciated when they go to these lengths to make change and fight, Erica. And then we had Cori Bush. We have all these people.
Let's talk about Cori Bush for a second. What are your thoughts about not only her victory, but just like how it was handled throughout, being that they're both African American?
Yeah, I didn't know much about the incumbent, except it was just apparently like a dynasty, quote unquote, because I don't remember if the guy who got unseated, if it was his father who was in office or what. But it's interesting how that activist sort of organizer route is becoming much more of like, it gives you a lot of clout, it gives you a lot of credence. Like, you've been on the ground doing things. You have Trayvon Martin's mom, who was running for some council seat, I think. You have, I'm trying to remember, Michael Brown's mom, who also was running for seats. And I think just like Cori Bush is that same kind of vein where it's like I think literally her thing was from activism to politics or something. And I think that's going to be the move a lot of people make is, okay, if you really want to get this stuff done, we're going to organize marches. We're going to chant, we're going to rally people, but then we're going to run for office and get stuff done.
I like
And-
that. I was going to say, I liked her race when she lost the first round, but she came back the second round. And it was kind of like that fight, that grit, that tenacity that I thought was so impressive. And I was really happy for her. I was really happy for her, truly. Maybe I'll get to work with her in a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me be clear. Lacey Clay and his daddy are the poster children for term limits. They are why we need term limits. There is no reason a family should have a seat in the United States Congress for 50 years. That is ridiculous. And I was like, even allowed to happen. And most of the times he even ran unopposed.
Right.
And that was just like freaking ridiculous. So the fact that she went that first time and she, didn't make it all the way and then actually came back, dusted herself up and tried again and actually won it. That is incredible.
Agreed.
Yep. I think that Cori Bush she's just the future, right? She's just the future, and times do and will always change. And now that we see we've identified these new age problems, now we have new age solutions to fix these new age problems. And Cori Bush has new age solutions. So that's all it is. People are seeing that we need these new age solutions, and now we're implementing them. So same thing that happened in my community. It's like, all right, well, listen, it's a whole new generation, baby, whole new day. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling. So, it's time to move forward. It's time to leave the past in the past, embrace the future, and let's figure out the solution to fix these new age problems.
Agreed.
Sure.
Agreed. And I'll chime in just a little bit because I know I live in a very Republican city in a very Republican county, and the one lady that's running, she's a Democrat, but she's bringing, like you said, she's bringing new ideas. She wants to bring internet to the rural cities due to the fact the majority of the households, they don't have internet access whatsoever. And so she's actually pushing that to get that done, and also wanting to bring the economy back to the local stores, because as you look around, a lot of our stores, especially in the downtown district, is shutting down or they're not getting a lot of business. She's like, no, I want money to get reinvested in them because that what makes our city so unique. That's what makes our county so unique is these little mom and pop shops that's been up for generations upon generations. She said, I want to make sure that when my child gets older, that she can still visit these places and that they're still going to be open. And I believe that with this huge wave of women coming into politics, especially Black women coming into politics, it raises, not want to necessarily say concerns, but it raises that attention of, okay, what's going on? What is she doing that has not been done for years? And cannot light a fire for that next generation to come and be able to, if she can do it, I can do it, and inspire others to do the same thing. Nobody?
I thought Billy was going to say something, but
I'll say something. I love the amount of Black women that are running this time around. As you guys heard before, I work with a lot of Black women in tech, and I've seen so many of them. In fact, earlier today, I got this call from a job recruiter from this job I used to really, really want, but not until I got. Anyway, so I actually passed on it and sent it to one of my friends, Tatiana, who's a real she's a whiz. She taught me things, but yet. In the industry, I have a higher position than her, and I just don't. And this position would be an upgrade for me. So I passed on it and sent it to her.
oh,
And she made the final interview.
Nice.
And I think she's gonna get it. So I see the world opening up. I see people showing out for these Black women. I see our country changing, and it's incredible. I want to build a country that my nieces and nephews can be proud of.
Correct.
They can say that they were part of that crew that did that. And it's so
Right.
important that we support our Black women.
Yeah,
Great.
1,000%. Jermaine, L, Toby, Jeannie, Ronald, what do you think will happen if Biden doesn't win in November?
I'm building me a boat. I'm leaving. If I don't build me a boat, I'm building me a bomb shelter, like flat out. But all serious, it really will wake up America as a whole, because now is like, okay, you have the reality in front of your face. You had the power to change that reality into something different, but because you sat on your vote and thought that it would be okay, now you're literally putting a hindrance for those next generations to be like, when faced with adversity, do you want to fight it head on, or do you just want to take the route, not the route, but the passive route of not wanting to get my hands dirty because I don't want to? But at this point in time, you have to get your hands dirty. If you want change that bad, you have to get your hands dirty, and you're gonna have to get in there, and you're gonna have to fight. You've been seeing people fight these races that's been, as Jeannie said, that's been monopolized for families for such a long time. Like, no, we got to come against that. We got to fight that. We got to make sure that we set up this next generation for success and not for failure. And if Biden does not win, ultimately, we're setting up the next generation behind us for failure. But, and I say this, but it also goes to show how much more we have to educate our children, our students. We have to educate them more and be like, hey, listen, this is what happened during my time. When it's your time, do not make the same mistakes that we've done. You do better. Here's the tools, the resources necessary for you to do better. Do better. Don't quit. Don't let up. Don't let adversity deter you. No, you go twice as hard, because of the fact that most folks, when push came to shove, they fell back. No, you push, you shove, you claw your way through, and you make sure at the end of the day, when you look back and you say, I've done everything humanistically possible I can to make change, you can be proud of that. And most people will be proud of that too, because they saw the grit, the tears, they saw everything that you laid it all down. Go for it. Anybody else?
Jermaine, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, and mine is a little less optimistic. I believe that if Donald Trump wins this re-election, I believe it will be the most deflating feeling for all of America. And the reason why I believe so is because you got to think, in 2016, Donald Trump did not win. He did not win. There were more people that voted for Hillary Clinton than voted for Donald Trump. But it was the system, that flawed system, is what gave us Donald Trump as the president of the United States. He didn't win. People didn't vote for him. It was the system that gave us, the situation. So we're already, upset at this system. We don't believe in this system. But now, even more people are upset at Donald Trump. So we will have more people that will vote, against Donald Trump. And if he wins again, that's going to be the most deflating feeling that people are going to feel. So I think that if we want to maintain some sense of normalcy, if that situation is to occur here in America, I think that we need to take our focus off of the White House at that point. And I think we should focus more on local and district things, because if we focus more on local and district stuff in that situation, we have more effect on people's lives than the president of the United States does. So if we decide to say, forget what's going on in Washington, let's just focus on our communities. Let's focus on our states. Let's focus on our districts. I think that we can really lift people's spirits back up. I went and I spoke at a community meeting a few weeks back, and it was to a group of Republicans. a group of Republicans, and they were like, I spoke to them, and after I got done, they were like, "Man, we're so impressed with you." Right. So they also, said they were going to vote for me in November. So one lady, I spoke to her at the end, and she was talking about what's going on in Washington. She said, "Are you not afraid of what's coming out of Washington by the Democrats? Are you not afraid, what's coming out of Washington?" I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not afraid." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because I have more effect over your life than they do." And I said, "You don't have to worry about it." I said, "You don't call Donald Trump when you need a speed bump put on your street. You call me. You don't call Donald Trump when you need something looked at in terms of education from your school district. You call me. You don't call Donald Trump when you need your trash being moved. You call me. You don't call Donald Trump when you need, certain situations. You call me." So I am.
You call me.
So, I said, let me be the person to assist and make sure that your daily lives are exactly what you want, because most Americans just want to have a good life. Most of them just want to have food on the table. Most of them just want to have running water and electricity. Most of them just want to be able to go to work and come home and have money in their pocket. Most of them want the same thing. So if I can help you to achieve what you need to live a fruitful life, then let me be that person. Don't worry about what's going on in Washington.
Yeah, and I think, like Andrew was saying, we need ranked choice voting. We need to really advocate for that. Today, he was saying that that's kind of like one of his newest, like on the top of his list of priorities. And if we don't, our democracy is going to be compromised moving forward. So that's something that every candidate should be advocating for. And if it ever is able to be something that they vote on, they should vote yes on ranked choice voting. And I also think that he made a phenomenal point about the importance of voting for down ballot candidates, and that if we have the House and the Senate, that could be a game changer. So if we have an all blue Congress and blue Senate, Trump's not going to be able to get a lot of those things passed that he's trying to push right now. And so that's why it's important to vote and support. Vote and support. So like the fact that like Donna and Blair, they're coming up this November, we should be supporting them 1,000%.
Yes. I love Donna. Hey, Jermaine, I want to ask you something really quick. Can you name some things that can get done on a state level that would affect like some of the things that, people really want that can get done on a state level? Like I know ranked choice voting is something that's like state to state. You have any other examples? Because people are very uneducated on the power of the state.
Minimum wage on a state level. People's taxes, certain taxes can get lowered or raised on a state level. These things, how much money is coming out of your check. So obviously we lower taxes on a state level, and we can put more money back in your pocket. Or if we do stuff like the Palmetto Dividend Fund that I'm talking about, that can be done on a state level. So I mean, we can help a lot of people out with certain things. I mean, it is. People aren't really understanding. They think that Washington controls everything. They don't control everything. There's rules and policies and things that are put in place that keeps Washington from dictating everything that's going on in your specific community. There are certain levels that go to this thing. It's like municipal, and then you got the recreation departments, and you got all these different things. So it's like, man, I want this, at my park. It's like, all right, well, let's go to the Recreation Commission and let's put down. Put a new workout facility there. Like that will make me healthier. Changing policies and such as the zoning. So you get the planning commission involved. It's like, all right, so now let's keep these big corporations that keep putting pollution in my community. Let's change the zoning so they can't come back to my community. So they can't just keep putting stuff in my community, which will inevitably, give people asthma. So let's keep these things out of it. Let's change the zoning policy so they can't come to my community. There's so many different things on a local level that really can affect health. It can help out, it can put more money in your pocket. It can help your children's education. It can literally change communities, from a local level. We really do not need, Donald Trump or anybody up there to say this, that, and the third, only for like the really, really big things, the really, really big stuff like or if we want to get money for certain things like Medicaid expansion, we may need some more money for that. You know, it's like certain things that we might need some more money for, but majority of our things can be handled from a local level.
Oh man. Now let me ask y'all, how many of you guys know your local state house representative?
Hey, I bet you 90% of the people don't even know. Listen, I'm sorry, but I do a lot of door knocking. I do before the COVID stuff happened. But I was just doing a lot of canvassing. I was just going around doing stuff in different communities, asking them, communities, hey, what do you need in your community? What can be done? What can make your life better? And I was doing this on behalf of the Democratic Party. And one of the questions was, do you know who your county council member is? Do you know who your state rep is? Do you know who this person is? 90% of the people had no idea who that person was. Aaron, and it's two problems with that, right? It's two problems with that. The first problem is you need to be more involved with what's going on over your community and know who exactly is over your community, because that's who you're going to when you need the support that you need. But the second thing is that just shows how these politicians take these people for granted. The fact that they haven't even talked to these people is ridiculous. I mean, they haven't gone to them and talked to them and say, hey, let me introduce myself so you know who I am. Let me have a cookout. Let me have a fish fry. Let me do a robocall. Let me do something to where you know who I am. I've done so many calls and just walking through the neighborhood just to say, hey, I'm the guy. Like, hey, it's me. I'm tangible. I'm a real person. It's just two problems. We need more people to be involved, and we need more politicians to actually care and not take these people.
Yes, 1,000%.
Agreed.
And also, too, to tell Dov what you're saying is we could teach this in school. Like, this could be integrated into a curriculum. It's called civics.
We had Heidi on recently, and we asked. Let me get the words out. We asked if anyone was ever taught this in their K through 12 class, and like everyone said no. And then Heidi said, "Why?" It's like almost like they want us to be ignorant.
True.
I think so.
We have to educate people, and that starts with kids. I know people probably get so annoyed about how much I talk about kids and education, but it is absolutely vital. We're asking them to vote when they're 18. They need to understand the three branches of government. They need to understand the importance of judges and that these are lifetime appointments. And they need to understand like all these different, I'm not saying that they have to know it like on the most in-depth level, but they have to have a pretty solid foundation that when they cast the vote, the impact that it can have on their life and their families' lives. And so that's why it's important. That's why education is so important. And, I feel like when it comes to just elected officials in general, what gets me really, really upset is that they're making decisions based on political points and trying to get political points. Stop it. It's not right. These are people's lives at stake. It's not okay. Do the right thing. Always.
Agreed. And I'm going to just piggyback off of what Erica said, because in my district, I'll put it out there, in the 59th district of Michigan, it covers the majority of the rural cities that's down here. Okay. And my state rep, I know him because he does nothing for me nor for my community. I can count how many phone calls, emails I sent down to this person because I'm like, hey, this is what's going on in your community that you're supposed to be serving and watching over for. The majority of your constituents, they're struggling right now, dude.
But the thing they don't understand, though, Ronald, because they don't relate anymore. When you've been in Washington too long, you no longer relate. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm so sorry. But it's like there's lack of, they just don't even relate. But keep going. I'm sorry.
No, this is local. They don't understand on a state level, and so this is the reason why, like, the candidate that's running now to unseat this person, I'm directly involved in her campaign because me and her came to a mutual understanding. She's like, we gotta get these corporate bought politicians out and get people who actually mean something to this community, get involved and start putting pressure and saying, hey, that's not going to solve the issues facing my community. That's not going to solve why our schools are not receiving funding. And this is the reason why we need to do laws for that, because of the fact it's not helping. What you guys are doing on the state level is not helping me. It's not helping my community. I need you to do this so I could go back and say, hey, this is what's going on the state level. This is the law that's going this up for grabs. What are your thoughts? How do you guys feel it's going to affect you? So that way, when I go and vote on this item, it's a reflection of you guys and not some corporation putting money in my pockets to vote otherwise.
But that means that elected official has humanity, that they're ready, that they ran for the right reasons in the first place. So if you're running for the right reasons in the first place, you're not worried about corporations. You're worried about the single mom. You're worried about the family of four. You're worried about the homeless man that's living in an encampment because he had a $400 bill that brought him to financial ruin. You're running for those people. You're knocking on the doors and telling them, vote for me because I stand for this. You're not worried about corporate PAC money and all that kind of stuff. That's the difference. And people need to vote for those kinds of elected officials, nurses, engineers, teachers, just firefighters, like everyday people, because you can't relate when you're chasing the 1%. Maybe focus on the 99%, because those are the people that are struggling. And you know what pisses me off the most? You walk around and you talk to people, and all they want is relief. That's all they want. They're not asking. People are not asking to be the 1%. They're just asking to be able to have a little extra to put in their savings account, have a little extra to put their kid into summer camp, have a little extra to buy their kid a scientific calculator so they can take a calculus class. They want to be able to afford college. I was so upset when I spoke to Melanie and she's like, you know what? Unfortunately, I can't send my kid to college because I'm still paying off my own student loans. Unacceptable, inhumane. And that's why I have zero respect for the establishment that is doing all this, is doing the bidding for the corporations. All I know is I try to avoid corporations at all costs in terms of shopping and everything because they don't deserve my money, my hard-earned money. The mom and pop shop does. That's who I'd rather give my money to, the small business owner that's trying to make their money the moral, just way. Sorry.
Amen.
Don't apologize. Stop apologizing.
How do you even follow up on that?
I'm mad.
Never apologize for being passionate. You're not being.
It's not right.
Here.
We're doing people so dirty. And
It's true.
And the thing is, what shocks me is people still want to have hope. Even though we keep screwing people, the government, not we, the government, certain people in the government keep screwing people up over and over again, people still want to have a little bit of hope. They'll stand in the line for 4 or 5 hours and cast their vote. And when they do that, that's like, you know what? I'm going to give it another try. I'm going to keep trying, because what else? What's the alternative?
Right. It's true.
Oh, yeah.
We know how that's going.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's a tough act to follow.
You don't need a fire extinguisher. Let the fire burn.
I don't know.
Burn it all.
The chat, as of right now, the chat is feeling this because, and I agree with everything that Erica has said, and especially what's going on in the chat too as well. Is like the passion is there, and it's like this election year, this election cycle, and the next 2, 3, 4 election cycles is going to be huge because of the fact that we all see what's going on in our local communities. We see it. We see the issues. We see the problems. And, because we're down to earth people, we're not out trying to get that corporate dollar. We're like, hey, we're just trying to survive to get to the next day, the next hour. We're trying to make sure that we got enough money in the bank account to cover that extra $400 that just shows up unexpectedly. you know? And so because we as a group, we see those issues, it should prompt us to run. It should prompt us to talk to those people who've run and lost, to understand why they lost, so you don't make that same mistake. And so that way, when you do decide to run, you got more people backing you than what you realize, because they say, oh, we see you in the community. We see you wanting to solve these issues, solve these problems, in that you're for us. We're going to have our support on you to make sure that you do what you promise that you're going to say you're going to do. And then when you win and you come back to us and help educate us on what's going on, we'll be more prepared about, you know, hey, we want you to run again because you've done this, and this. Keep going. You turn around, you bring more people behind you to fill up those other positions that go unopposed, that actually can help change everything around in your community.
Oh,
Blonde
man.
coattails, yeah. And I know this whole episode kind of stemmed from Biden's comments, right, with the lack of, quote unquote, lack of diversity in the African American community.
Was that even mentioned?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if we talked that much about it, but like this emphasis on the local state races, I mean, you're not just looking at a few corporate donors and a few people who are backing you. You're really looking at the true diversity in your communities, and you're finding the people who are left behind, who are forgotten, whether it was in inner cities, whether it was in these rural areas. I remember Jamie Harrison. He had a story about how he was campaigning for someone for his Senate race in South Carolina, and how like it was this older black man he talked to who was saying that, like, you see my old dirt road, like no one has come fix this dirt road in like decades. And he basically just closed the door and left Jamie there, basically saying that no one has cared about her issues in so long because the people have kept pandering to the same sort of elite or the same set of people who haven't really fixed anything. And so instead, you really go ahead and have true diversity. Oh, someone hopped off.
Yeah, Erica. She was waving.
Oh, okay. That's why she was waving. Okay. But it is so important to have that connection with the grassroots and really hear people's stories outside of like what you're used to hearing. Some of these elected politicians who have not really had connections with their constituents, town halls, and many election cycles, they don't talk to their people. And it's like, what is going on? Like, we need these people who work hard. Of course, Erica is a great example. Jermaine, you're a great example. Cori Bush. Like, there's so many people who are putting in so much work just trying to talk and connect. And that's the kind of fighting and passion that you need in Congress or your state races or your local race or whatever. You're going to hold people's feet to the fire. You're going to keep pushing and asking tough questions. Why have things been the same way? And that's just, you know, it's kind of been said, but that's really the key to everything changing. I know I saw a comment that said, my name was in there. Jeannie, Elle, and Toby are also going to run for office. They just don't know it yet. LOL. I'm like, I don't know about all that, but actually I do feel like I'm probably I might be more involved in these type of things, because I realize, you know, I like things from the number standpoints. I've read like political articles and I kind of nerd out over them, looking at the numbers in the districts, even the numbers of fundraising, and a lot of historic things about how this is the most, you know, funded, like this election cycle has been like the most money spent like ever. Well, 2018 had a lot of those too. And I think it would be interesting working as like, you know, more on the data side or doing some kind of behind the scene things for a campaign. I mean, I do software engineering professionally, and that's kind of where my efforts are going. But I do think that there's a lot of interesting things that we could branch into. We all might get into politics more in some way, informally, helping people organize, working behind the scenes, doing all these things. And I feel like, you know, it's kind of like an awakening for many of us. 2016 was kind of like a shock, like, okay, oh my gosh, things are not normal. What's happening? 2018, obviously, a lot of people got put into office, but now, like, we're actually seeing a lot more people step up in 2020 and 2022. 2024 is going to be a crazy year. 2022 is going to be a crazy year. Yes. Like, so many people are going to start running for office. Like, we might just see people announcing next year and 2022, like, more Yang Gang candidates, more general progressive candidates, people from all types of backgrounds, like you were saying. Firefighters, you have engineers, doctors. I mean, you have Mark Kelly running as an astronaut in Arizona, and it's just like crazy, the diversity. Like the diversity is important on every single level, not just the race, the demographics, but occupation, everything. But no, that's kind of all I had to say about that.
Sorry, when you said like running as an astronaut, it made it sound like she's running for astronaut. Like, running as an astronaut.
Oh,
But I get it. No, this is kind of funny, so I apologize for laughing.
No, you're good.
Well, before we go, I want to say just really quick, thank you, Dr. Jermaine Johnson, for running.
Yes.
Before you came on, before I started, following Yang, I'd always had an eye on you. You were one of my favorite Yang staffers. And like when you started running for the state house, I did not know what a state house was, to be honest. And so I know it's weird. I was like 23, but it made me like look into it, see the powers of the state, and realizing that the control we have over our local and state governments matters so much, maybe even more to some people, depending on what issues you put to the forefront. So I really want to thank you for exposing what the power of the state house can do.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I appreciate you for being a supporter, man. I appreciate. I try to share all your stuff, brother. And I appreciate everything that you do, man, and everything that all of you all are doing. And thank you all so much for the support for giving me to run. This has been a crazy ride. It's not over yet, but it's definitely been a crazy ride so far. And I hope that I'm just giving some people some little sense of hope. And a sense of that we can actually get through some of these situations and a little bit of inspiration because I always talk about what I've been through, and if I can get through it, then I feel like a lot of people can get through these situations, and that's why I try to go on as many podcasts, as many interviews, many things as I possibly can, no matter how small it is, no matter how big it is, because people need to hear. They need to hear these things, and I never want to get too big. Some people had said, hey, they had asked me about running for like some huge seat, some United States seat, and I said, well, I don't think I want to do that. Of course, I'm gonna let God take me where He's gonna take me, but I don't want to do that. That's not my inspiration. My inspiration is not to do that because I always want to be grounded enough to where if I have to take a phone call from Miss Barbara down the street, I want to be able to go to Miss Barbara's house and have some sweet potato. I want to be able to go do some volunteer work. I want to be able to go mow somebody's lawn. I want to go to some schools and go read to the kids. Like I want to be close enough to the people, to where I can actually stay relevant and be a real force in my communities. I think that we don't have to go to the White House. We don't have to go to Washington to have the positive effect and change people's lives and inspire the next generation to be the president of the United States. So I'm right here in my community, man, and I don't plan to leave.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. That's real.
There you go. Wrapping up. All right. So, for anybody else, we want to close this thing out. It's been a good discussion, really good discussion, and we thank you guys for dropping by. Again, do as Megan said. Please like this channel, like this video, subscribe, notification bell, the whole nine, so you guys will stay in tune. We want to thank Dr. Jermaine Johnson for being on his channel. Thank you so much. Of course, Erica, she had to go, but again, you guys go support her too as well. And you guys just get involved in one way, shape, or another. You have no idea. I know somebody said in the chat, you have no idea how much power we actually do have. If it's on a local level, go start at a local level. And if you want to build yourself up. But as you're going up, always remember where you came from. Always remember the people who supported you on your race. So as we get ready to go, any final thoughts from anybody else?
I know there was a question, kind of a small question addressed to me from Meta Jawbone about how long my federal job guarantee versus UBI argument with my siblings were. We actually didn't talk about policy when it came to my siblings supporting Bernie. It was more just about like he's been fighting for stuff for the longest and change the system type stuff. We didn't get into back and forth, but I just saw that and I was like, wait, let me actually answer that question. So no argument is really the answer. and probably won't be one in the future either. Hopefully
Yeah.
there'll be Yang Gang in 2024 though.
Yep, there you go. There you go. Anybody else? Final thoughts? No, we're good. We're good. We're good.
Right now.
All right. So this is the McCoy again, special guest Dr. Jermaine Johnson. We will catch you guys on the next episode.